Young, and the Restless Spoilers. Full episodes, 30s, June 25. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today is a beautiful Thursday, and we are absolutely buzzing with all the latest drama from Genoa City. Grab your coffee or your wine, because we have so much to unpack today and the tea is piping hot. Let's dive right into the madness. I am literally shaking right now. I cannot believe they actually went there with Nikki and Victor. I mean, we all knew something was wrong with Nikki. We have been watching her rub her temples and wince in pain for weeks now. But a tumor on her optic nerve and the risk of blindness, I am absolutely devastated for her. But before we even get into the heavy medical stuff, can we please talk about the absolute audacity of Victor Newman? I am so sick and tired of this man thinking he can just bulldoze his way through his wife's trauma. He literally stood in her bedroom, looked at the woman he supposedly loves more than life itself, and told her that her debilitating headaches are her own fault. Are you kidding me right now? I was screaming at my television screen. I have been watching this show for years, and I know Victor has a massive God complex, but this was a new low, even for the mustache. And when Nikki took off her wedding rings and handed them back to him, iconic, I cheered. I literally cheered out loud in my living room. Let me back up a second because I am getting way ahead of myself and my blood pressure's spiking just thinking about it. So Claire, sweet, innocent, beautifully naive Claire, decides she is going to play matchmaker. She has lunch with Victor at the GCAC and invites Nikki, genuinely thinking she can just magically fix decades of Newman toxicity with a nice Cobb salad and some sparkling water. Bless her heart, she has absolutely no idea how deep this family's dysfunction goes. She just wants the happy grandparents she never had growing up with Aunt Jordan. It obviously backfires spectacularly. Victoria ends up pulling Claire aside in the lobby and blurting out the truth about Nikki's headaches and blurred vision. Victoria tells her not to worry, which is the most Victoria Newman thing ever. Just compartmentalize the trauma, push down the emotions, and pretend everything is fine, right? Victoria tells her daughter that she wants to tell Victor, especially now, but she is holding back because she knows how he reacts to weakness. But then Victor shows up at the ranch anyway. He marches upstairs to Nikki's room, demanding answers because he noticed her in pain yesterday. He does not knock softly. He does not bring her tea. He just demands the truth like she is one of his rogue executives at Newman Enterprises. And what does Nikki do? She lies. She says it is just stress. And honestly, can you blame her? Why on earth would she tell this man her most vulnerable, terrifying secret when all he does is use her weaknesses against her? Every single time Nikki shows a crack in her armor, Victor exploits it to control her. Because, of course, the conversation immediately pivots to the absolute nightmare that is Matt Clark. Matt Clark, living at the ranch, is the massive elephant in the room that is crushing the life out of Nikki. I know some people in the forums are loving this whole redemption arc where Matt is Nikki's secret son and now he has amnesia and feels bad about his past. But personally, I think it is absolute psychological torture for Nikki. Victor's furious about it, and instead of supporting his wife, who is clearly going through a massive physical and emotional crisis, he uses Matt as a weapon. He literally tells Nikki that her physical pain is self-inflicted because she is letting Matt stay there. That is when Nikki snaps. He tells him to get the hell out and hands him the rings. And Victor just takes them. He does not fight for her. He does not drop to his knees and beg her to tell him what is really wrong. He does not pull her into his arms and promise to be better. He just takes the rings with that cold, stony expression and walks downstairs. I am so done with him right now. How many times are we going to watch Victor push Nikki to the absolute brink? I am genuinely terrified that this tumor, combined with Victor's emotional abandonment, is going to push Nikki right back to the bottle. We all know her history with alcohol. When things get this dark, she self-medicates. And if she starts drinking while dealing with a brain tumor, it is going to be a complete and utter tragedy. And then the scene right after Victor walks downstairs, the wedding ring's probably burning a hole in his pocket, and runs right into Victoria and Claire in the living room. He immediately goes into full interrogation mode. Why do I get the feeling you two are hiding something from me about your mother's health? He asks, narrowing his eyes at them. The tension in that room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Are they going to crack? Victoria is usually terrified of lying to her father. She almost always folds under his pressure, but I kind of hope she holds her ground this time. Nikki deserves to reveal this terminal illness on her own terms. Wait, is it officially terminal? They said her diagnosis is worse than you imagine and there is a high risk of blindness. But my soap opera brain is jumping to the worst case scenario because it is Y and R and they love to make us suffer. Okay, back to the point. Nate Hastings showing up in Nikki's room was actually a massive breath of fresh air. I know Nate has been super messy in the corporate world lately, backstabbing people left and right, but seeing him back in doctor mode, I am absolutely here for it. He looked at the MRI scans, agreed with the neurologist's grim assessment, and had this really tender human moment with Nikki. She looks at him with so much fear in her eyes and asks him if he can do the surgery. My heart just broke into a million pieces when he had to remind her that he cannot operate anymore. Remember when his hand was shattered? Yeah, the show actually remembered its own continuity for once, but Nate promises to help her find the best surgical team possible. It makes me wonder if this is going to be the storyline that finally redeems Nate and brings him back to his medical roots full time. I really hope so, because corporate Nate is kind of exhausting, and we desperately need Dr. Hastings back in action. But wait, if you thought the Newman drama was intense, we need to completely switch gears and talk about the absolute circus happening with the Abbotts. I am sorry, but this storyline is turning into a literal horror movie, and I do not know if I should laugh, cry, or be genuinely terrified. Kyle goes to Jack and tells him that he finally tracked down Dr. Lawrence Markham. And where does this totally legitimate, not at all shady therapist live? In a literal fortress deep in the woods near Powers Lake. An isolated, gated estate with a massive building hidden off the main road. Are we serious right now? This is not a therapy retreat. This is a hostage compound. Jack immediately jumps to the conclusion that Diane is being held there against her will. And honestly, for once in his life, Jack Abbott is actually making complete sense. Because let us not forget the unhinged puppet master behind all of this. Patty Williams. Patty freaking Williams. I have been watching this show since the days when Patty was terrorizing this town, carrying around that creepy stuffed cat. And let me tell you, Stacy Haiduk is acting her absolute heart out, but this character is a menace to society. Jack tells Kyle the real reason Patty is doing all of this. She explicitly told Jack that he has to divorce Diane and marry her. I literally spit out my drink when he said it out loud. Marry Patty? After she drugged him, kidnapped him on a yacht, and orchestrated this entire elaborate scheme to destroy his marriage? Jack is terrified, and he should be. He warns Kyle that they have to be extremely careful, because if Markham and Patty figure out they are onto them, they will move Diane to another location, and they might never find her again. And then Kyle, bless his himbo heart, suggests he just break into the fortress himself. Oh yeah, Kyle, great idea. Let the guy who wears custom designer suits and perfectly styled hair try to infiltrate a heavily guarded woodland compound run by a psychotic therapist and a woman who has a literal PhD in stalking and kidnapping. What could possibly go wrong? Jack is hesitant, obviously, and they talk about calling Burrow to handle it professionally, but you just know Kyle is going to do something stupid and reckless. I am dreading it, but I am also kind of grabbing my popcorn because watching Kyle Abbott try to be an undercover action hero is going to be pure comedy gold. He is going to get himself captured in 5 minutes flat. I just know it. But the most disturbing part of the entire episode was Diane's actual therapy session with Dr. Markham. This guy is a total fraud and a menace. He is actively, maliciously gaslighting her. He starts the session by forcing her to talk about the exact moment she found Jack cheating. Diane clearly does not want to talk about it. She is raw, she is traumatized, and she just wants to heal her broken heart. But Markham pushes and pushes. He pivots to her relationship with Jack before the affair, asking if her happiness was just an illusion. He is planting these toxic little seeds in her brain, making her doubt her entire reality and the foundation of her marriage. And then she finally talks about the yacht. Diane explains how she went onto that boat just wanting to find Jack and bring him home safely. She was probably so worried about him being missing. And instead, she opens the door and sees him in bed with Patty. The pain in Diane's voice when she said she was filled with rage and agony. I actually felt a massive pang of sympathy for her. And I do not even like Diane that much. I mean, she faked her own death for years, but nobody deserves to be manipulated like this. Markham asks her how she feels, and then he drops the most sickening, manipulative line of the whole episode. He asks if Jack was trying to send her a message. A message. Jack was drugged out of his mind and assaulted, you absolute quack. But Diane does not know the truth about the drugging yet. Diane admits that in her darkest moments, she always feared Jack would be drawn to someone else, and she hates herself for not being able to forgive him. And what does Markham do? Does he help her process this trauma? Does he guide her toward healing? No. He looks her dead in the eye and tells her that maybe her inability to forgive him is a sign for her to move on. Boom. There it is. The trap springs shut. Patty's instructions are being delivered right into Diane's subconscious by a licensed professional. He is literally brainwashing her to leave Jack so Patty can swoop in and claim him. It is sick, it is twisted, and it is phenomenal soap opera television. I am just so overwhelmed by all of this drama. We have Nikki facing potential blindness and a terrifying medical diagnosis while actively pushing her husband away because he is acting like a monster. We have Victor being a clueless, arrogant jerk who is alienating his entire family over his vendettas and his hatred for Matt Clark. We have Nate stepping up to be the hero Nikki desperately needs right now. And on the other side of town, we have Jack and Kyle planning a literal heist on a woodland fortress to save Diane from a brainwashing therapist who is working for the craziest woman in Genoa City history. This show is absolutely unhinged right now, and I am living for every single second of it. I know some people in the forums think the Patty stuff is too campy and unrealistic, but honestly, it is the exact kind of crazy, over-the-top soap opera drama we have been begging for. I cannot wait for tomorrow's episode. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, because I need to know. I am not the only one losing my mind over this.